One of the more interesting things about being a adult action figure collectors, we tend to have a lot of rules about what we collect, which are put in place by ourselves. And usually this is to try to control our collection. As an example, I collect Fantastic Four figures, or I collect, as you saw, Spider-Man villains from Marvel Legends. I also love to collect X-Men, but specifically 1992-ish. Is that a word? 1992-ish figures. Now, occasionally I will buy sort of random characters that call out to me that I just think are cool, or I remember from, specific storyline from my childhood, or figures that don't fit in with a larger collection. It's sort of my exception box, shall we say. I also really get a kick out of getting some of my favorite characters over time and seeing how toy companies evolve their approach and how they improve. So a character I had sort of as an adolescent, now buying as an adult, is there really a difference these days? Well, it's fun to watch. Now, I recently bought my very first ever deliberate purchase of the Incredible Hulk. Now, one would think, looking at my toy collection and the overwhelming number of Marvel characters I have, and DC, I do have quite a few of those. I just tend to, I'm giving them a rest after being on hyperdrive for DC for 10 years. So I'm kind of taking a Marvel break, shall we say. Yet, for all this love for Marvel, why no Incredible Hulk figure? Why did I finally turn to buying one, and why this 80th figure? Well, I got to thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, and the more I took notes, and looking at how I passed on previous versions of Hulks, and sometimes with regret, it's interesting to see how I came here, why this is the first time that, metaphorically, I took a bite out of getting Incredible Hulk into my collection. So why pass up on this essential member of the Avengers and core Marvel A-list character who is absolutely one of the most well-known superheroes worldwide? Because let's face it, what kid doesn't want to Hulk out? Why do I have, shall we say, this lack of nostalgia? Wish I could come up with a better word for that. If only they had a word for that. Well, I think a big part of it is the fact that I didn't exactly grow up with the Incredible Hulk. And that's sort of translated to really not wanting Hulk in my collection for many, many years, or at least not deliberately seeking one out. And now you might say, well, wait a minute, how could you have never heard of the Hulk? He's had toys for decades. Well, sort of. I mean, he had one toy, let's count them one, in the 1970s, the Mego Hulk, right? A lot of Marvel figures, this was their very first action figure. In fact, most superheroes didn't have toys until the late 60s, 1970s. Hulk's big rise in pop culture fandom, of course, came from the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno interpretation on the TV series. This came out in 1977, along with a lot of other great stuff like Star Wars and The Deer Hunter, which beat the pants off Star Wars at the Academy Awards. Well, I was born in 1978. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're 1 year late, you're not going to watch something, but if you look at the way Hulk was portrayed in the 80s in action figures, or rather lack thereof. So Secret Wars was the big push for Marvel toys in the 80s, the way Mego was in the 1970s. And while the Secret Wars line from Mattel contained most of the A-list characters, as well as some characters that people had never heard of before, like Kang the Conqueror and Falcon, who the latter never even actually appeared in the Secret Wars comic book, but hey, who's keeping track? This line wound up being the entry point to a lot of kids to the Marvel Universe. Being able to take figures and play with them, have that tactile feel, and connect with them physically. While it was based around this storyline that was designed specifically to sell toys, well, it didn't exactly sell all of the toys. A few of the major characters that were in the content, like Hulk and the Fantastic Four, were left out. And this has not only left a lot of people questioning why, but I realized after really thinking about my recent Hulk purchase that the fact that Hulk never made it into the Secret Wars line had a direct effect on my long-term toy collecting. Now, the simple reason why Hulk was never in Secret Wars is because all of the toys shared the same body. There were alternate legs and arms that could be swapped out to have boots or smooth spandex, if you will, but for the most part, it was all the same tooling. There were more or less two generic body types. Hulk would have needed a third body, a hulked-out body, and, well, for kids of the 80s, that was just not going to happen, which meant there were no Hulk action figures for a whole decade. While the 1970s had both the TV show and the Mego Hulk, which more or less worked as an action figure for the show, it wasn't until this guy that we got our next Hulk action figure. So when he came out with the other Toy Biz Marvel superheroes, while I did buy quite a few of them, I passed on Hulk. I had no cognitive schema of feeling an emotional connection to this character. The first time Hulk was ever done specifically for Secret Wars was when Toy Biz repacked this version as well as others from their ever-growing Marvel Universe line. Actually, I take that back. That wasn't that exact Hulk, but a Hulk, shall we say, from the Toy Biz 5-inch line, and created a Secret Wars giftable pack. Hasbro would later follow suit, including Hulk with Cyclops in a Secret Wars themed 2-pack when the comic book packs were all the rave for their 4.5-inch line. Not to be confused with a 3 and 3/4 line, but that's a whole other YouTube video. So, while Hulk had to skip over the 80s being in Secret Wars, the 90s kind of made up for it, and now where we are in the 2020s, well, there's been no lack of Hulk figures since then. Now, while I said I never deliberately got a Hulk, I did have some pass through my hands over the years. So this Fin Fang Foom set that was sold at Comic-Con, where all of the characters in the Fin Fang Foom wave were included in one box, I happened to be in the right place at the right time at Comic-Con to purchase one of these. I did it for Fin Fang Foom because, what can I say, I like giant dragons and dinosaurs, and, well, Savage Dragon is one of my favorite superheroes, and he's a green dragon, so hey, why not? Maybe this could be a super morphed version of him. No, just kidding, I know it's Fin Fang Foom. The point being is I bought the set for him, and while it came with several Hulk and Hulk allies in the wave, I sold them all off, every last one. I don't think that makes me a scalper. I think it's only a scalper when you buy things to sell. I sold things that I paid for that I didn't want. So whatever that labels me as, I think we all do that. I had another Hulk come through my hands, which was the Galactus Wave Hulk. Again, I bought for the Build-A-Figure piece, but instead of selling this one off because, well, I don't know why I didn't sell it off, but maybe that was, I think that was back when eBay, you were required to send checks in the mail. This was in my customizing phase, which didn't last long, but I made a bunch of Savage Dragon figures, and Hulk became Brainy Ape, complete with the goldfish bowl from the Mr. Burns World of Springfield set. So between that Marvel Legends Hulk that had a flat top head, I was able to just sort of chop off the hair and plug on the bowl. There he is on the left behind an actual manufactured Super Patriot and some of my other customs around him. Yeah, that's why I quit. I'm not that good. Now, when the 80th anniversary Hulk came out, I actually would have completely bought this. I was excited and ready to get this. It was pretty much exactly what I would have wanted in a Hulk, just to have one as part of my Avengers collection. Well, actually, no, I don't collect Avengers, but my Marvel collection. The problem was, I never saw this once in stores, ever. And it's a perfect example of distribution issues, because if I had seen this physically on a store shelf, I probably would have bought it. And the fact that it never once passed through my hands at retail, it passed completely, and I forgot about it, and I never got it. And a year later, I was like, oh, shoot, I never got that really cool Hulk figure. But I was like, they're obviously going to want to pay off that tooling investment. That's a huge amount of tooling. But other Hulk figures did come along, and in particular, there's a current Immortal Hulk from Diamond Select, which is the sort of, I guess, comic book store / now Disney store non-mass retail distribution channel for Marvel figures. And this Hulk pretty much also had everything you'd be looking for in a standard, big Hulk. Well, this really got me thinking about scale because I have a hard time mixing lines. And I wanted to get the Select Hulk, but I just felt like, I don't know, he feels like a little bit too big, and even Google isn't specific. So I had to turn to the Lunchable size chart to truly understand how big Hulk is. And yeah, this one, while Hulk has been drawn huge, he's not really 9 feet tall. So an 8.5, 9-foot action figure in a 6-inch line does make him just a smidge too tall, which makes sense since Marvel Select is a 7-inch line, Marvel Legends a 6-inch. But as I noted, I knew they were going to want to repaint and maximize this tool, so I essentially had to wait while they churned out all of the easy redecos or quick character swap outs with new heads and new parts, assuming that, yes, they'll probably come around to doing your standard classic Hulk eventually, since, like Spider-Man, he's one you're always going to want to keep. And he did when he came around and said, all right, this time I'm going to snap it up right away. I'm not going to let this pass me by. I didn't have the chance to get it at retail since this figure is an online exclusive, but hey, I have connections to the internet these days. I use that whole dial-up thing, and I get to hear the fax, the machine go off. It's so much fun. You know that hissing noise. Okay, besides that. So I bought a Hulk. I bought my very first Hulk ever. And I do have some buyer's regret because I like this one better. I think that the brighter skin tone and the face sculpt is much better. I don't really care about the torn shirt. That can come or go. But Yeah, as much as I like the additional deco on the pants, on the rips, I think that this is still the better Hulk, and I kind of really wish I had picked it up. And if I'm going to have one Hulk in my collection, I would have liked the one I wanted. But it's amazing to think that because he had a unique body type and was never included in Secret Wars, that had a decade upon decade reverberation. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Throughout my entire toy collection. Are there characters that you never had as a kid that now you kind of have no interest in, even though it feels like you're obligatory? Hey, Hulk, share this video, and Hulk, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. It's really interesting to discuss this phenomenon of toy collecting, and I'd love to know your experience in it.